All right, we're going to play the blood typing game together to see what we can learn about how we determine the blood type for people and how we can safely give transfusions. So, if you need more information, I have also posted to the website the links to the tutorials that you would get to if you clicked on the main button or the main menu button here. What is a blood type? How do you determine a patient's blood type? And how do you perform a safe blood transfusion? So if you want to read about that, certainly go look at those websites as well. But for those who cannot play the game, here's what you're missing. Here's what it would look like. So we're going to pick a patient, and we start by taking some blood from this patient. And now we're going to try and use these test tubes that have reagents with antibodies A, B, or Rh to figure out the patient's blood type. So we're going to go ahead and put a little bit of blood into each one of these and shake it up and see what the result is. So we can use these results to try and figure out what the blood type is. So if we look at the vial closely, we can see in this vial right here, we have the red blood cells, and they have a little antigen on it called antigen A, and that is causing them to be stuck together with antibody A. So antigen A on there and antibody A is causing this blood to clump up. So that tells us what kind of blood this is. That tells us because they're clumping, the antibody A is causing the antigen A to cause these blood cells to clump together. So that means that this must be blood type A. Notice there are no antibody Bs, there are no antigen Bs on the blood cells. So even though there's antibody B, that they're not sticking together with that. Same with Rh. There's no Rh antigen on the blood cells, so the Rh antibodies aren't sticking this together. So that tells us that this person has type A blood, and it's Rh negative, meaning they do not have Rh. So again, you can see that here. It's clumped in A. It hasn't clumped anywhere else. So we'll select that, and we got it right. So now that we know this patient has blood type A, we need to give him a blood transfusion. So this patient needs 2 bags of blood, and we're going to try and give the appropriate blood right here. So we might see this and say, oh, this is type A blood, and drag it over and see how that does in helping the patient. And you can see he is not very happy. Oh, what we noticed, he has a Rh negative, and this was a Rh positive, so that was not a good match for him. Well, here's a bag of a Rh negative, so let's give him that. And you can see that was good. He was happy with that. But now we have a problem. We have type B blood, and he needs type A. We have type AB blood. Oh, if we scroll over here, we have type O blood. Remember, type O doesn't have any antigens on it, so let's go ahead and try and give him a type O bag. If he's Rh negative, we want to make sure we give him the O negative bag. So we give him that bag, and sure enough, he's happy. All right, so let's try our next patient. Go ahead and try and figure out her blood type. So take a look at these results. She's had agglutination, or this clotting, happen in the A antibodies. It's happened in the B antibodies, but it hasn't happened in the Rh. So if we look at each one of those, this tells us that she has the A antigen. This tells us she also has the B antigen. This one tells us that she does not have the Rh antigen. So if we look at the types of the choices for blood, think about what this shows. She has type A antigen, she has type B antigen, so that would mean she's type AB. She doesn't have the Rh antigen, so that would mean Rh negative. Let's take her in to give her a transfusion now that we know her blood type. So notice she needs 4 bags of blood. So an obvious one would be to find the blood that's exactly what she has. So she has type AB blood and it's Rh negative, so let's find that bag and start by giving her that. Next choice. O is usually a good choice because O doesn't have any antigen on it, so there's nothing for her body to react to. So if we can find an OH, and since this is negative, give that to her. That should be good. Next up, we know we don't want to give her anything with positive, so we want to avoid all the positives. Notice here we have ARH negative. Since she has A antigen already, if we give her some blood that has A antigen on it, her body won't reject that. It won't recognize that as being foreign because she already has A antigen on some of her blood cells because she already has AB blood. So let's go ahead and try and give her that. That was good. And then same thing with B. If we give her the BRH negative blood, she already has B antigen on her blood, so her body won't recognize that this was not originally her, and she will be happy. So sure enough, we have saved her. All right, last patient. Let's take her blood and figure out her blood type. All right, look at those results. Can you figure out what kind of blood this patient has? Hopefully you've been able to identify that she has type B antigens because her blood is agglutinating or clumping together with type B antibodies. So because it's clumped here, that tells us she has type B. Because it's clumped here, that tells us she also has the antigen for Rh. So we can put that together and choose B Rh positive blood for her. So we know she has B positive blood or BRH positive, and now we need to give her a transfusion. So as always, we're going to start with the blood that matches her exactly, BRH positive. That makes sense. Now we need 3 more bags of blood. Again, a good choice always for our next blood type is to choose the O. In this case, she's B positive, so we can choose O positive because O means it doesn't have the B antibodies and positive matches up with the antibodies she already has. But notice we can also give her the O negative because this means it has no A or B antigens, and this means it has no Rh antigens. So there's nothing on this blood to signal to her body that it's bad. So we can go ahead and give her that. And then similarly, we can give her the other B blood that's negative because it doesn't have Rh positive, and as long as it's not going to signal to her that it is not from her, then it will work just fine to give her this transfusion. So we can give her that blood as well. And we've saved her. All right. Hopefully that helps. If you have more questions, hop on the Google Meet and we can talk through it, or look at the links to the tutorials from that blood typing lab. Thanks.